I have a terrible answer to this because I really was not systematized and I really wasn't like giving myself, 12, 18-month plan. I never recommend immediately dipping your 9 to 5. You really need to understand like the signals that are there. And the signals are vibes for sure. And also financial vibes. His name's Shervin. When he decided to go into creating full time, and his quote was basically like, burn the boats. I'm burning the boats. There's no going back. You need to ultimately get yourself in the mindset of creating. And a big motto that we have at Creator Economy NYC is fuck it, create it.
Well, I feel like you've been crushing it lately. Like you're like on a world tour, you're traveling, doing all these events, you're hosting regularly events. Or did you also like leave your full-time job and doing like your gig, full time?
Yes, I appreciate the world tour. That's really high praise. I guess I never thought of it like that.
Yeah,
But realistically,
you really are traveling a ton,
I did just travel a bunch, and I'm stayed put for a little
racking
bit.
up them miles.
Rack of the mall. That's why I've been very adamant. I have failed because I have not stuck with one airline.
Yep.
And I'm not a master of the points game, and now I'm trying to get a little bit more into it.
Yeah.
But yes, I did recently leave my full-time job. I guess I would say. I don't know how best to describe it because I was laid off from work week where I previously was back in November of 2024. And
Gotcha.
following that, while I was still building what I've been building with Creator Economy NYC and CIFSI, which of course we'll dive into, I ended up getting a job at Kickstarter, the crowdfunding platform, as head of content creators. And that job was ultimately, it was like I was a contractor. So I wasn't like a full-time W-2
Yeah.
employee. For getting government technical here. Um, but the basis of the job was basically full-time hours to an extent.
Mm.
So I guess pretty much, yeah, I was on a year contract, and ultimately, when it approached March of this past year, I kind of set a goal, in 2024, my like deadline of figuring my shit out to be able
Yep.
to do what I'm doing full time should be March. And I should
Dude.
be in the position where I can approach Kickstarter and have the ball in my court in terms of like, it just does not make sense for me from a time and logistical standpoint to continue here, and I
Yeah.
don't want to be like of detriment to Kickstarter and under deliver. And I realized like I need to go full throttle on my businesses that were picking up and gaining traction, and now I'm in the position where I'm doing them both full time, and my day-to-day, as crazy as it is, multitasking like a motherfucker, um and doing things like this is
Yeah.
is what I'm doing now.
That's really interesting because I feel like a lot of people that I talk to online or even the people that listen to this podcast, they're probably working like a 9 to 5, or maybe they're like tinkering on something on the weekends, and like they aspire to kind of like leave their gig and do something like of their own.
Mhm.
So like how else did you reverse engineer that transition? Did you think like 12 months in advance, 18 months in advance? Did you have to like hit a certain amount of savings or revenue on the side or following just to have like a backup if you wanted to do sponsorships, or
Mm,
break it down for us if you can?
yeah. Great question. I have a terrible answer to this because I really was not systematized.
Hmm.
And I really wasn't like giving myself, 12, 18-month plan. Um, and frankly, that's kind of how I operate, probably to my detriment in some cases, but things tend to work out, which is also a good lesson learned. Things tend to work out. I kind of was just like riding off of of vibes and where things were headed. And so while things were kind of going with Kickstarter, I spent basically all of 2024 really trying to figure out how to properly monetize Creator Economy NYC.
Hmm.
And when I lost my job at Work Week, it wasn't, someone may say, oh, just go, you should just go full time on your own thing and, like figure it out. But I didn't really feel mentally ready to go all in. And I didn't want to have to put pressure on myself to ultimately like monetize and grow it in ways that, aren't,
Doesn't feel right.
doesn't feel right,
Yeah, I feel you.
for the sake of the fact that like I was trying to survive over thrive. And
Yeah.
so having a job like Kickstarter that was aligned with the things that I was doing within the creator and social space, enabled me to build like one, just incredible credibility
Yeah.
in the space. So when I had this job at Kickstarter and then the offer was there to be head of content creators, it was like a no-brainer to lean into this because of the access that it would provide me having such a title and being with a company that I admired and that's quite reputable.
And the
But also
brand.
just and yeah, strong brand. But the learnings that I would get through this, and also it would enable me perhaps some leeway and financial ground to keep building my things until I figured it out. And so like I didn't even have a sponsor set up for my Creator Economy NYC events until like March of 2024, right? And that's when I just started with Kickstarter. So I was just figuring it all out. And then like, and I was like underpricing things. I was tinkering with different venues, not realizing how much events cost, or like, should I even be making money from this? Because I really was breaking even for a long time. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until Q4 of 2024 that there was like a pretty big inflection point. And I signed like a long-term Q4 deal with Teachable, Shopify. We did an event together. Beehive was getting involved, and I was like, oh man, like we're really doing this thing. And I started to get a lot more clear in terms of how I'm monetizing Creator Economy NYC and what it is. And I was still working at Kickstarter.
Yeah.
My software tool CIFSI also started to be like gaining some traction. We signed Lyft as a customer in like December, and it was like, oh shit, like all right, there is, when we talk about vibes, there is some really good vibes going on in terms of where things are headed. And like frankly, I think I just need to like double down and let things ride. And
Yeah.
so as of course 2025 rolled around, I signed a year-long deal with Teachable, and that was
Yes.
like the boom. Okay, like financially you're making like you're gonna have like a couple thousand that you can take either quarterly or each month, and you'll figure out the rest on top. And my goal was like, can I match what I've been making at Kickstarter? But I felt like that was too rigid. And it was like, you might not be matching it right now in March when your contract is up, but you might be matching it come April or May.
Yeah.
And so you kind of need to bet on yourself a little bit. And so I ultimately just like taking signals for what I was feeling. And, I spent all of 2024 thinking about going full time. Kind of just like told Kickstarter, I tried to actually figure it out with Kickstarter. How can we still work together? Because, I felt like I have value to give to them, and I like, being in the space.
Yeah.
But ultimately it was like, what they want is not what I think I can provide. And let's just split here. And all of a sudden, we come into March, and I'm out South by Southwest hosting a big event. And then I signed like a huge brand partnership deal with Notion. And I'm like, okay, boom, like things are working, like we're heating up. And this was such a great opportunity or great, mindset to ultimately leave. And then, yeah, things have really been tacking on. And from a monetization standpoint, like LinkedIn brand partnerships were coming. And so it was really just like riding the momentum. And so back to the advice point for folks that are listening that are in that position, I never recommend immediately dipping your 9 to 5. You really need to understand like the signals that are there. And the signals are vibes for sure, and also financial vibes. And so you kind of need to have them both grounded in practicality. And for me, there was some really good just vibes and conversations that were happening, and I could see the long-term view in terms of how we're going to do this thing. And then financially, like, okay, like I actually had the things all set up. Um, and so I would say from the time that I actually created the business, the LLC for Creator Economy NYC, to when I left full time was about a year.
Mm.
To give people context, but I was doing Creator Economy NYC, this is our third year now. So I went like not as a real business for a full year,
Yeah.
just to kind of show that like I was toying with this. It wasn't like super serious. It was just, hey, trying to make a name for myself in the industry. And now here we are.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people like want to do something on the side or they want to like do their own thing full time. But I think your approach is smart because you tinkered with it on the side for a little while still working a full time job. And that also, like, yes, the vibes, yes, the momentum, yes, like the financial security, that's all important. But it's also like taught you like work ethic. Like, if you can't juggle two or three balls, there's no way you can just do like one and have all the stress and everything that comes with like running a business or building a business from scratch. So like the fact that you're able to work a 40-hour a week job and host these events and build a brand and do these partnerships and work on a SaaS product at the same time basically was a signal to you to say like, okay, well, I for sure have like what it takes to like do this. Now, if I had like, 40% more time taking this job away, then I can just double
Yep.
down even more.
You kind of, it taught me like, you really want this,
Yeah.
and I never recommend like leaving a job, especially early in your career, just because you kind of want to toy with an idea. Right.
Hmm.
It's different when you're in your 50s and you leave your job, but you have strong, maybe financial element under you. And also you kind of have built that, personal identity capital. But for me in my, my 20s, it was like, you want this, you got it, there's a path forward. And it was like, let's rock and roll. Like I literally,
Yeah.
like when I made a decision about Kickstarter, like I told my parents, like my brother, and, they were all like, my brother was like, rip it. and we started a business together, and he's in med
Oh
school. So,
yeah.
he's on a, a more straight route, but he was like, rip it. Parents a bit more hesitant, but I'm like, trust me, I got
Yeah,
this.
another thing is too is like you're young enough to the point where you can like mess up and then like still come back to like a career. It's not like you like have been doing nothing for the past 5, 10 years, like you can
Right.
always find another job in like content or marketing or partnerships or whatever.
But I'll tell you what, that's a great thing to say and give people comfort. And it will give those folks in
At least
your
for your
life,
parents.
parents, comfort. But don't worry, I could always go back to something else. Okay, oh, okay, great. But a creator in our community who I'm friends with, his name's Shervin. Shervin shares really strong YouTube presence. I interviewed him for a newsletter of mine with Creator Economy NYC, and one thing he said like stuck with me like crazy. And basically, when he decided to go into creating full time, there were certain signals that he saw that were similar to mine. And his quote was basically like burn the boats. Like
Yeah.
I'm burning the boats. I'm like there's no going back. And that element of kind of burning the boats really gave him confidence in terms of like I need to go figure this out, and I'm going to do it by
Yeah.
any means necessary. And that's just the life of being an entrepreneur. If you keep thinking about this safety net and the possibility of going back, you're not going to take big risks because,
That's true.
you're always like, oh, I got this other thing. No. You kind of got to take the risk because there's no other way. The only
Yeah.
way is through.
Yeah, that's a good point. So like all the things we're talking about, all the things that you're juggling, we kind of hinted at Creator Economy NYC and like this other product that you're working on. Can you just give a breakdown of it's like everything that you're working on, starting with your top priority?
Oh, my girlfriend, if she's listening. Um, from a professional standpoint, so there's three key things that I bucket in terms of what I'm working on. There's Creator Economy NYC, which I would define as the leading community and knowledge hub for the creator economy. And we are specifically New York City's largest and most visible creator community. We host monthly events, routine dinners, and also lots of content and education that's helping creators in the ecosystem around it to really scale and grow. Right, a rising tide lifts all boats. And I'm
Yeah.
also working on a software tool called CIFSI. We are essentially a consumer insights tool that is capturing those insights from comment sections. So really taking, the modern way of people providing feedback and cultural drivers, which is happening in the comments. And we use the power of AI to ultimately kind of standardize how we're extracting those insights for agencies and brands. So we work with like Yum Brands and Lyft and Wasserman, so really strong clientele. And then I'd say the third bucket is like my personal brand, which is an extension of both of those businesses. And I would say primarily Creator Economy NYC, but like doing LinkedIn brand deals or doing individual speaking gigs and things like that, that ultimately enables me, to have a whole nother business area, and all of them kind of end up like fueling each other one way
Right.
or another. So those are kind of the three buckets I'm working on. Now, a question I've been getting is, well, what's your full-time? What's your full-time job, your full-time focus? And I was like taken aback by that question because I'm like, that's such a great question. I have no idea. You're right. What is my full-time job? All of them are my full-time job, I would say. And I would say that every day and every week shifts in terms of what's taking up most of my time. And today I did a lot of Creator Economy NYC stuff because I have some like deadlines for myself by the end of the week. Yesterday I did a lot of CIFSI stuff. And then every day there's some personal brand stuff in between, posting on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
reaching out for partnerships. But if there's one that's like a core like priority, I would say the Creator Economy NYC, because it ultimately fuels both CIFSI and my personal brand. And like everything has stemmed from that, right? I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Creator Economy NYC.
Yeah.
CIFSI, our software tool, would not exist if it wasn't for Creator Economy NYC because the idea came out of it. Our handful of clients, our customers came from the community. And so like I owe everything to what I've built with that. So that's probably what I would say in terms of like priorities and the way that I think about stuff. But it
Yeah.
certainly varies on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I'd love to break down each individual, I guess, business and just talk through like, what exactly goes through to manage the business, to run the business, who's part of it, is just you? Do you have any partners? How do you monetize? And maybe how do you acquire customers or
Yep.
partnerships in this case?
Yeah, great question. So starting with Creator Economy NYC, it's just been me, really. I truly do not
Nice.
have anyone else involved. I will, of course, give shout out to my co-founder of CIFSI, Leon, who has just been instrumental in serving as a sounding board. And then, of course, I've had some really amazing volunteers in the community that help with the events. But all in all, the selling of it, the branding of everything, I've all done by myself, and I love doing it. Can I delegate stuff? Sure, we're getting there. That's kind of how where that operates. And then brand partners have also been quite helpful. So I really found like brand partners like Teachable have almost served as not just like, hey, we're sponsoring your thing piece. Like they've been definitely
Like they
invested.
pull
Hey,
up and they're there.
yep, they're there. Well, hey, we'll help you. You know, we're doing a panel together. Let's help you source panelists.
Yes.
Let's go through the questions together. And I'm like, this is great. Yeah, I love working with you guys. It feels really genuine. Um, so that's all been myself. And I would say, if it wasn't for AI, uh, I have no idea how I would be building what I'm building, especially solo. And platforms like Claude and ChatGPT have been so instrumental in ideation, in email structure, in helping to draft newsletters, in helping to draft questions, titles for panels. Like I use it maybe to so much to a fault, where using it as a sounding board, which I think
Yeah.
is so helpful. But truly would not be in the position without something like that. And then like all like low code tools or no code tools like Canva. I built my whole website on Canva.
Yeah.
I use Luma for all event management, of course, Beehive for my newsletter, and just really like the centralization where all of the emails and folks in the community exist.
Yeah.
Um, Now shifting to CIFSI, the software tool, my wonderful co-founder Leon is our technical co-founder, and he's a really skilled engineer. And I handle pretty much all sales and biz dev. And I really we've been working to gain customers through just showing up in real life and networking and building those connections, right? My specialty, but also creating informative content online that provides value and basically, showcases like, oh, what's CIFSI, right? And then you get someone
Yeah.
inquiring.
Maybe you could also explain, because I think I'm a marketing guy, so I get
Yep.
it. I understand the value of like when you comment on a post and that comment gets a lot of visibility, it's value for your brand because it could be funny and it adds brand value or brand equity or like, just impressions or driving traffic back to your website. But can you just give us like the pitch for the person who doesn't really
Yep.
understand marketing too much of what it is?
So essentially what CIFSI is, it helps agencies and brands understand social media comment sections. And so how it ultimately works is that if you're an influencer marketer or you're a social media manager or you're a social listener, you can basically put in post links across, social platforms into our platform. And from there, we'll basically develop a clear and comprehensive overview in terms of what's going on in the comment section. And so we do that in three key ways, which is one, our proprietary scoring. So we take kind of a new route when it comes to sentiment of what's going on in the comment sections using the latest, greatest in AI. So instead of just like positive, negative, neutral, we actually throw in there relevance and consensus. So like, are the comments relevant to the content of the post? And then consensus, are people agreeing with each other in the comment section? And then we kind of bottle the average of these three up into what we call our CIFSI score, which like assesses the vibes of the comment section. And that gives you a really great look as a marketer in terms of like, okay, did this content resonate with the audience it got in front of? And so that's been super helpful for influencer marketers when they're doing their wrap reports. It's been helpful for social media managers when they're managing their own socials, like Lyft uses it for that matter, right? How has our content been resonating? And then ultimately, you're in brand and PR or you're a social listener, maybe you just want to understand like, how are people responding to like our new, soda launch, right?
Yeah.
How are people responding to like our CEO was just in an interview with CNBC, and you want to like get a vibe of that. So all the tools today in this space are able to extract like, what are people saying online, what are people saying in the videos, but we go a level deeper. And ultimately what we're trying to do is build the standard in this space for how comment sections are analyzed and insight is extracted, and ultimately how comments are ranked and scored, kind of like Nielsen. And so it's been a really fun journey because the comment sections are so needed and useful across every single element of marketing and research and brand safety. And so there's been such like a huge interest and demand for it. And so that's ultimately what we've been building and really what our selling point is. And so I just posted on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. Dove did a really great campaign that got a ton of awards at Cannes. And I basically pulled all the posts from that campaign, put them into CIFSI and ran, the analysis on it. And you could really understand like, how are people responding in the comments, right? What was the vibes? And then what were the key comments? You can search through the comment section. And my final
That's
point
cool.
is that when you're looking at comments on your own feed, right? If you're a marketer and like maybe you're going to the brand account or you're looking at influencers thing, the comment section is often dynamic. It changes from person to person. And so the few things you might see you think are reflective of the full comment section, but in reality, they're not. There's actually a ton more that's being discussed that you are likely overlooking. And what we're able to do is kind of pull that together in a way that's scalable and gets you the insights that you need for, whatever business decisions that you're driving forward.
Yeah, makes sense. And so like the pricing structure you're aiming towards, these bigger clients versus the average consumer, or like, do you have an enterprise tier, or like, how's the pricing work and how you monetize?
Yeah, so for the software tool for CIFSI, we are primarily targeting enterprises, larger agencies, some small agencies. It's not a consumer tool, even though it's funny enough, we originally built it for creators, and we'll
Mm,
we'll come back to that, down the line. But yeah, we start at like 199,
nice.
and we go all the way up to like 2,000 plus, depending upon team size, feature set, and we
199 a month up to 2000 a month.
Yep, correct. And then there's
Nice.
enterprise plans, which
Yeah.
go even higher. And then there's a volume basis. So kind of like how when you're on Beehive and you ultimately are choosing your plan and feature set, then like how many subscribers do you have? We do that basically by like the amount of posts and accounts you want to analyze in a given month, which gives our users and customers a lot of flexibility.
Uh-huh.
But that's ultimately kind of just like an add-on because we're analyzing all of that. And so yeah, we see customers on a range of different plans. Um, but that's ultimately how we're monetizing and doing so on like a monthly subscription basis.
That's cool, dude. So like, it's just you and your technical co-founder building this. Do you have other team members that are working on it, or just you two?
It's just us two currently.
Nice.
Um, and it
That's
again,
beautiful. I mean,
yeah,
the beauty of software is like, you build it once and you just upkeep it, keep fixing it, keep adding features, fixing bugs, and but it has a potential to scale really nicely. Whereas like
yep,
events, it can be more difficult to scale. It has its own like, growth flywheel, but
exactly.
that's like the beauty. I mean, the cool thing is that you're doing both, so you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, there's the dual
Uh,
experience. There's the
yeah,
physical
exactly.
element of events and such, and then there's the scalable nature of software. We certainly, we're raising money now,
Oh,
pre-seed
nice.
to kind of drive to get some sales support and marketing support to help scale our efforts, and then engineering to help us keep up with maintenance and stuff as we gain a customer base. But yeah, from the event standpoint, it's tough for me to be like, oh, I should go host an event in LA because I'm just one person right now.
Mm,
And I ultimately would need support to go and execute on something like that that's outside of my core territory. And, what a blessing to be able to live here in New York City and be able to host events here
yeah.
and be able to execute on them as consistently and as large as we have been able to.
For Creator Economy NYC, is like the main monetization strategy just like sponsors or partners that want to like, be in front of the people that are attending the event? And like, what's the value? I mean, I understand the value add. I'm a marketer, but like, what are they looking like? What ROI are they looking to get out of these events?
Great question. So the primary way that Creator Economy NYC monetizes is through brand partnerships.
Gotcha.
The next layer is ultimately through kind of more premium offerings, like premium education products. So I'm in the process of launching a course that is for aspiring and really creators of all sizes. It's a mindset course that I think is really important in the creator economy because mindset precedes action. A lot of tips out there, as we know on Twitter, but it's like can't enact any of them until you ultimately like have the mindset you're ready to dive into it. So that will be what I consider like our more bottom of funnel elements. But yeah, we primarily our events are free and open to the community while being heavily curated to ensure a proper environment and the nature of who our brand partners want to get in front of. And so basically how it works is, yeah, they'll pay for a brand partnership for the event, either being a presenting partner, which is like they get to be part of the panel or fireside chat, whatever. That's the highest tier. And then there's some supporting partners, which is like, the more accessible tier, where it's just like brands get involved to support the event. They want to show up and maybe have some collateral there, mentioned in the newsletter, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and then of course newsletter partnerships and uh, social media stuff, which I love because the margins are ultimately 100%.
Yeah.
With events, the margins are not 100%.
That's what I was gonna ask you, is like, if you're hosting events in NYC, I'd imagine these venues are like pretty expensive. So like, if you have three sponsors, are you breaking even? How much are you making per event? And like, if you're paying 5-10 grand for 4 hours to use a venue, you really have to kind of do the work on the sponsorship front so you're not losing money.
Yep. The all of my events have been profitable since like the
Nice.
inflection point last year, which has been great. And they're getting more profitable as we're building out partnerships with venues where we can kind of reduce the cost. And then also like as the community gains traction and notoriety, we can charge more. So for example, like we're partnering with Visa. Visa is going to be our presenting partner for an event in July, which is just huge.
That's cool.
And it's like, we would never be in this position if it wasn't for the consistency of doing the events. So they are profitable. They are expensive. I do try to keep costs down. But the thing with like, you have a brand partner paying top dollar to sponsor your event. You also want to take some of those dollars and put it to have a good experience. So let everyone have a drink. I'll have some food and bites. I'll get a, ton of marketing material. Cause they don't want to give you the money and then be like, there's a cash bar, it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
where you just
It's a
pocket
bad, it's a bad
everything.
look. Yeah, because it makes them look really bad too, if they in
Right.
front of the attendees.
Exactly. So I primarily give everyone one drink card, and that's
That's cool.
that one. I think that's generous, and two, it's just like I don't need people coming to just drink. Right.
Yeah,
The
but
the
give belligerent. Yeah.
value is in what's there and being part of the programming and all that. So that's kind of been the main way of monetizing Creator Economy NYC. I forget what your other question might have been as it relates to
Yeah,
that.
that's good. I mean, the last one that I had was for this topic is around like your personal brand. So like what's the breakdown of your online presence today and how you monetize that in different ways?
Yeah,
I
great
know it kind of
question.
blends with Creator Economy NYC
It
because you
does.
write the newsletter and like you also monetize that, but you're the face of it, but then you have these like LinkedIn partnerships. So
Yep.
maybe just give like a broad explanation and then we can dig into each one.
Great. Another great question. And it's actually providing me clarity right now to think about that. So I would say that like anything that is Creator Economy NYC like branded and coded is Creator Economy NYC, the
Gotcha.
entity, even though it's a single person LLC, right? So it all passes through me anyway. But anything that involves me specifically promoting or speaking about it from like me and my brand or me showing up somewhere is ultimately what I would consider a part of more like personal brand. So, if a brand or conference flies me out to go and speak at a conference, that I would consider as like, that's revenue for me.
Yeah.
If it's on my LinkedIn, that's Brett Dashevsky revenue, even though it passes through my
Yep.
LLC.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would say the newsletter, the events, the courses, everything, despite it being me curating or writing it, I would probably put that in part of like Creator Economy NYC revenue. So that's how I think about the split. Um, and yeah, definitely thinking of ways how can I enhance that.
Dude, you do a lot, man. Like I see you online, like traveling to these events to go speak. You're doing like live coverage. You're doing event coverage, like content from the events, videos, photos. You're hosting your own events. You're like managing this software. You're growing it. You're raising capital. Like, can you just share maybe a story or like times in the past where you've kind of like hit? I don't want to call it burnout, but just like hit the wall. You're like, holy crap! Like this is maybe I bit off more than I could chew. And how you work through it because
Mm,
I think a lot of it's kind of like sexy right now to want to have like a portfolio of businesses or portfolio of things to do. And but then when you're actually in the moment and
mm,
you're doing it, it's like, oh crap. Cause like when
yeah.
there's one fire, you might be able to handle one fire, but if there's two fires, then you're like really going through it, you know?
Yep. Great question. Well, on one point, I want to clarify that I certainly did not put myself in this position because I thought it's sexy to have multiple businesses. In fact, I feel one like blessed that I have businesses that I'm building that like demand my attention and are have traction that it
And they
almost,
complement each other too. It would be
it,
really difficult if
yeah,
they were like, we're not even close to
of
within the
course.
same category.
That's why it works. And the fact that CIFSI came out of Creator Economy NYC, like it just like that embedded DNA.
Yeah.
But like if I was building like a health tech startup, oh my God, I'd be like completely drained, right? Um,
Yeah.
so I would say that's the reason why I'm in the position where I'm in. If I could be building just one of the businesses, I mean, of course I would want to do that because like Lord knows where could that skyrocket if it was just 120% focus. Um,
Yeah, but also like you have the creator DNA, and I think part of being a creator is juggling multiple things at once. We're already used to juggling
that's right.
X and LinkedIn and email and also events and full time job for a lot of people. So I think that's part of like your DNA, and like it would be really difficult, I think, for you just to only do CIFSI and not like your personal brand or creator content or events or
I
like all
agree.
this other stuff.
I'm a multitasker at heart. So like when you talk about like
Maybe it's
when's the time,
ADHD or I
ADHD,
don't
right?
know.
Literally. I saw David Cerna from Founders podcast. He talked about how like he'll focus on one thing like all week and he'll wake up
Yeah,
and like
7 days. I
7 days a
saw
week
that.
he's talking about it. And I'm like, I just couldn't do that because my mind wanders into exploring different things. And frankly, it keeps me sharp. I feel like it keeps me on my toes. There's learnings from Creator Economy NYC that I take to CIFSI because like, we want to lean more into some in real life dinner type stuff to get in front of our ICP and do some virtual
Sick.
events. And it's like, I wouldn't know how to execute on those properly if it wasn't for Creator Economy NYC. So they all complement each other very well, absolutely, and they're all have momentum, which makes them exciting to work on. I think that burnout ultimately comes from, as Sam Altman talks about, like just burnout comes from there's just no progress, and you're not
Yeah,
feeling momentum, and you keep working on something that's not going anywhere, right? Um, I do not want that to ever be the case. But right now it's not the case. And so I do feel like every day I get up and I'm excited and there's a million things to do and there's progress. But there were moments, like building a B2B SaaS tool is difficult. And so there's times when maybe like we weren't hearing back from customers for a while, or I just felt drained with doing outreach and not feeling creative to do any copy around it because, Creator Economy NYC was picking up and I just did a big event and I need to post about that. And so like there are those moments where I feel like everything's like coming at once and I'm like, all right, I need to prioritize one thing and something's gonna have to take a back seat.
yeah,
And I wouldn't say it fully stops momentum. It's just how the things go. And the way that me and my co-founder of CIFSI think about Creator Economy NYC stuff is that no, focused on that because it fuels what we're doing. You being
definitely.
out there, you being relevant, you talking about this space is ultimately serving as marketing for what we're building. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. Um, but I will say I hosted a conference in May and I kind of made the decision to not do an event in June. And so typically I've done events during New York Tech Week and I didn't really make any moves on it because I'm like, it's like a few weeks after my conference. And, frankly, I should milk as much as I can from the conference. And I should probably like, get myself in order heading into the summer. And so I spent the past few weeks since my conference or past month at this point, reworking the mission of Creator Economy NYC and CIFSI, our vision, where we're headed. We were fundraising for CIFSI, so I needed to be a little heads down with that. And now, like, we're heading into July and I feel like ready to run through a brick wall. I know what our flywheel looks like. I know what our funnel looks like with events and social and then our newsletter and then maybe courses and such. And, have 2 events lined up with Visa and Teachable. And,
Sick.
that could push me through the year. So I
Yeah,
feel good with what's ahead. And even if that's it, that's all we do. I still feel like it's strong and it's impacting the community. And frankly, that's what matters to me. I don't want to stop showing up for the community. So any touch point I can have feels good. And as long as the business is also, moving along in a nice way. And fortunately, I don't feel a VC pressure to like grow at all costs. It's like, dude, things are good. Someone's gonna remind yourself, like, take a breathe, close your laptop. You're allowed to.
yeah.
You chose to work for yourself for a reason. Take a breather. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. How has like having an online presence and these distribution outlets impacted either like investor pitch calls or inbound or growth for
Mhm.
your product or for the business or for either business,
Yep.
if any?
Oh, everything.
Hmm.
Everything. I mean, to be able to be a credible voice in the spaces that I'm operating in opens up so many doors and opportunities. And when I go to DM someone on LinkedIn to want to demo them, CIFSI, I'm not some random guy that they have no idea, like who I am or what I do. I connect with them, right? And then they'll see my stuff on the feed, and then I'll reach out to them as a little strategy. And so they've been seeing my stuff, and then I reach out, and they're like, "Oh, this is a legitimate person. I've been seeing his stuff." And then the key is you start engaging with people, in the social listening and the insight space, and they're liking my post, they're commenting, and then all of a sudden, like you're one of them. And I always say that like you talk about something on the internet long enough, people start to see you as you are the guy that pertains to that. And so for me, that's become the creator economy. That's been years, right, of doing it. And now like leaning into kind of like insights and social listening. That's only been recently. But you set yourself up and you engage with the right people, you start to also elevate in that space. I will say it also helps having the LinkedIn top voice badge,
Yeah,
because
that's nice.
it's
I have that
literally
too.
like it's literally a badge of like verification.
Yeah,
And that has been so important because it's like someone will be like, oh, this person who's verified, a top
he's
voice is
legit.
reaching out to me. But for any creators out there, what is so great about creator-led businesses is that these creators own their distribution and they have this trust and credibility with their audiences. And so I'm not someone that's just like stepping into this space trying to be like, hey, I'm moving in here. It's like, oh no, you live here. Welcome. You're in the community. Happy to check out what you're building, or maybe I want to get involved and sponsor what you're doing because we're trying to target creators, and you seem like the person that has that community.
Yeah, it makes such a difference. Like when you DM somebody and they check your profile and they're like, "Wow, he's like actually knows what he's talking about." He's not just like a person that has zero, like, 10 followers on LinkedIn or hasn't posted ever. Like you're actively like building your brand in this niche, and I think it makes the world of a difference. That's why I preach it all the time to tell people, like, building an online presence is one of the highest leverage things you could do, whether it's building a social presence or email presence or both, or doing events. But it'll fuel growth in almost every area of your business. And I know
Absolutely.
it takes a lot of work, but it's worth it in the end.
It takes a ton of work, but it's well worth it. I don't think you can hack it. I know that there's a lot out there of agencies that are helping founders and whatnot grow their presence, but like even that takes time. And so
Hmm.
I trust that obviously the agency owners understand that, and they're like, look, like stick with us for a couple months, right? This thing
Yeah,
takes time to grow and for you to establish credibility speaking about something, and then you can't stop. You can't stop.
keep going.
It's like using Rogaine in your hair. You can't stop. You just once you get, because the moment you stop, you lose all the momentum you had. And I've seen it. I've seen people show up on my feed for a while. I'm like, damn, they're crushing it, and all of a sudden they disappear. And I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, like it's like that image of the guy that's going digging for the gold, and he turns
Oh yeah,
around
he's
right
like
at that
right
moment.
there at the end. Yeah.
Yes. And that genuinely keeps me going all the time. Every time I feel like momentum is slow, I'm like, just keep pushing because you've been in this position before, and then what comes after. So keep
Yeah.
going. And then you get that email that you're like, let's go, and you get that dopamine hit, and it's like you just gotta keep
Oh
going. You
yeah.
gotta be consistent.
Yeah. Do you have any other advice or like tactical advice for people who want to start creating more content, but they don't really know how to get started, or they're afraid to put their face out there?
Hmm. I think that, yeah, you need to ultimately get yourself in the mindset of creating. And a big motto that we have at Creator Economy NYC is fuck it, create it. And that ultimately is just a mindset of, stop overthinking and get your ideas out there, right? Publish over perfect. And the moment you kind of start to tell yourself that, you're giving yourself permission to be embarrassed, permission to fail, right? Permission to be disappointed, but you just need to get started. And like all the creators that you admire that are out there right now were in your position at one point. And you have
Yeah.
to
Good
realize
point.
that, hey, this person has 10,000 plus followers, but at one point they had 200 just like you. And what they did to get to where they are is just push and be consistent. And so you really need to have this fuck it, create it mindset that every time you're hesitating about posting an idea or you think the video needs to be perfect, I almost challenge you to just like don't do a million revisions, just post it and get it out there,
Yeah.
because you need to train the muscle of showing up. And it's like the James Clear elements of habits, right? Atomic habits, just small points of showing up really compound into something huge. And then you start to hit that trickle point. I shared in my newsletter the other week, literally talking about that element of compounding and consistency when I was looking at my LinkedIn growth from 2022 to now. And it literally was like this until like 2024. And then it
Just
started to go
skyrocket.
up. And it's like, dude, that was 2 years of just posting and just seeing what sticks and posting into the void where like 5 people like my stuff.
Yeah.
And dude, even today I'll post stuff and it gets like 20 likes. And it's like, not that that's not bad, but it's like, you know, I'm still getting a low amount of engagement for being where I'm at. And so
Yeah.
I think, in the next 5 years, I'll look back at this standpoint and look at my data and be like, oh my God, the line was actually fully flat and now it's even higher. So you
Yeah.
just need to train yourself to show up and fuck it, create it at all costs and figure out everything later. That's literally how you're going to do what you need to do and achieve the results that you want to achieve. So get after it is the biggest advice that I have. Stop overthinking, stop reading strategies on growth. Like you just need to post. You need to
Yeah. I
post, you need
think
to show up.
I think like content creation is really like a skill that can be developed, or like a muscle. It's like going to the gym and you go out first and you're really weak, you can't lift the weight, but then over time you get stronger and stronger and stronger. I think content creation is like exactly the same. Like you're only going to get better by creating content and seeing what sticks, and seeing like learning the social platforms and figuring out the formatting, and engaging in the feed and seeing how like what makes you stop your thumb when you're scrolling through the feed, and like picking up these little tidbits and implementing that into your content. One quick tip that I tell a lot of founders, because a lot of founders like are strapped on time and they want to create more content, but they're also kind of afraid to put themselves out there, is I tell them like carve out a few hours every week, maybe like a Sunday when it's like your least busy day of the week, and like go to a coffee shop, create for a few hours, and schedule for the week in advance, so that you don't have to remind yourself to like post or be afraid or get like cold feet when you're about to post something that maybe is a hot take. You schedule everything in advance, and then like during the week when you're in meetings, then you just like all of a sudden start seeing this engagement come in from a post that you scheduled 6 days ago. And then once you get the engagement, then you get the dopamine, which gets you like more excited to like post again or create more content. And then you can like think on the fly when you see
Yep.
stuff or trends, because you're not worried about like, oh, I have to come up with a banger because it's end
Yep.
of day and I haven't posted my tweet for the day or my post for
Yep.
the day.
I agree. Some batch, and batching is probably helpful in the beginning. And then like for like me, I'm really on the fly.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes on Sunday, if I know there's some stuff I want to post, I was like, okay, I need to do like a recap of Can, and I have 2 sponsored posts to do. I'll map that out. But
Yeah.
like today, I posted something that I thought about posting today. So like,
On the fly stuff always does best, by the way.
oh, it's
But I'm
great.
just, yeah,
But the only reason I can do that and do so fluidly is because I've trained the muscle of creating, and like
exactly.
I'm in the flow. Now, one other thing is when I started writing my newsletter, I knew that the only way to grow my newsletter would be to be consistent with it. And I was sending my newsletter once a week. And so when 2024 came around and it was the first year of my newsletter, I made a goal that I'm going to send one newsletter a week for 2024, 52 weeks. And the way that I stayed accountable with that was I went in Canva and I created a worksheet that had 52 orange empty circles. And ultimately, I posted on Twitter what my goal is: 52 newsletters, one newsletter a week. And I would keep accountable publicly on fulfilling that. And so every single week after I sent my newsletter, I filled in the orange circle, took a screenshot of it, and posted it into Twitter into a thread. And that
Nice.
accountability publicly, and also just like the element of filling in the circles, right? I don't want to miss a circle, kept me consistent. And then ended up, of course, in December hitting 52 newsletters. And it's like, holy shit, that's the most consistent thing I've ever done in my entire life.
That's
And
cool.
last Friday, we just sent newsletter 80, um, not and have not skipped a single week. And I think what also helped with that was it was just once a week, right? I just was showing up once a week. So don't overcomplicate it when you're setting your own cadence in the beginning. But I do think having an accountability chart or something is really important. So maybe tell yourself, I'm going to post 3 times a week. It doesn't need to be
Yeah, on
Monday, Tuesday,
social.
Wednesday, just 3 times a
Yeah.
week. And even if it all happens on Tuesday, fantastic. You just need to show up and hit a goal that you're showing up. And all of a sudden, as you get better with it, like, you get more skilled, you get more savvy. It's like showing up in the gym. The
Yeah.
bench might look scary in the beginning, but when you start using the help machines, and you move the dumbbells and you move the bench, it's like, okay, now you're getting more savvy. You've showed up, but you're only there because you showed up. When I see the
Yeah.
big guys in the gym, I'm like, holy shit, how are they doing that? They showed up.
Yeah. Great
Applies
point.
to applies to creation, applies to company building.
Yeah. I love that. And there's a lot of tools out there for people to like, if they're just getting started. I know you're like really deep in the creator economy space. So are there any like trends that you're seeing that might not be super mainstream, or opportunities for people who might be like early stage creators, um, looking to make a name for themselves or jump on just a trend or opportunity?
Yep. I think that because we're in the weeds of the creator economy, and I talk about LinkedIn, it's like no shit. But I really do think LinkedIn is still being slept on as a platform for people to be creating. And one of the things that I've noticed through my community is that a lot of the people who show up are actually people who are creating alongside their full-time job, or they
Hmm.
are interested in leaning into it more deeply. And not everyone's a full-time creator, and that's okay. And LinkedIn kind of offers, perhaps a place where they can create with a lower barrier because they can share stuff about their industry, or ultimately about, what's going on at work. Now, I do recognize some people are hesitant about that because, their employer is on there. And that's actually like an issue that I feel like LinkedIn has to figure out how to overcome, is just like the comfortability of people with jobs posting there. Founders and
Yeah.
creators, no problem, right? We work for ourselves. Who gives a shit? Um, but I also think that people need to realize, like, they don't need to be doing like lifestyle content or, comedy. They can just be simply talking to the camera about something that they're uniquely interested in and sharing their unique perspective. And to not have fear about the fact that, oh, someone is already talking about this topic. It's like, yeah, but you're the one talking about it. You have your own unique story and perspective on it. And so I think that that's like something that creators need to also lean into. But from a trend standpoint, yeah, LinkedIn is huge, but I also think like sharing your knowledge and your story is something that's really impactful. And you can just simply, talk to the screen when you're doing those things. So that's kind of like what I'm seeing in the space right now. And then
Yeah.
finally, just the rise of knowledge products, being quite useful. Right, education is really also being impacted heavily by the creator economy, no different than entertainment. And people want to learn from their favorite creators, and so platforms like Teachable and whatnot really provide a strong foundation to do that.
Yeah.
Final
Dude, if
point, actually,
go for it.
audience ownership is the biggest trend that creators need to capitalize on. And just capturing emails. You don't need to be sending out a newsletter necessarily, but you do need to be capturing emails and figure out what to do with it down the line. Because there's a duo that's crushing it on LinkedIn right now and like blew up their company page to like 20K for their brand. And I keep telling them, like, you guys need to launch a newsletter so you can be capturing the emails and owning your audience, because I predict that what's going to happen with LinkedIn with video is going to be no different than what happened with Facebook and video, and how
Yeah.
BuzzFeed and all not, they all build, their businesses on there. And then it came crashing down once Facebook changed their algorithm. And so it's like, you can't be building on that rented land. And so finding a way to own your audience is the most important thing that you can do. And at the very least, capture their email. And if you can get some other first party data, like, where they're located, what they do, what their income is, that all is super powerful for you with what you build or the brands you partner with.
Yeah, I agree. We just had Manny Reyes on the
Legend,
podcast
legend.
and just broke down the entire like newsletter game. And that's exactly what he said too. He's like, it doesn't matter if you're like posting your newsletter every single week, but it does matter that you have a landing page that's simple and easy for people to like share, that they're interested in what you're writing about or talking about or your thoughts,
Yep.
because then it just compounds over time. Even if you're only writing it once in a while, eventually you can move to like a weekly cadence and people can expect it in their inbox at this date at this time. But if you have it just like in the background collecting emails, then you'll have somewhat of an audience when you write that first or second or third or whatever newsletter edition. So great,
Okay.
great tip. I wish I would have done that a long time ago too,
Yep.
by the way, because I was growing a social audience for a really long time and didn't really have like an email strategy or newsletter strategy at all, and grew like social audiences really, really big. And even used like LinkedIn newsletter. I don't even know if they still have the product, but
Yeah.
I used that for a while and it grew it to like 12,000,
Sick.
13,000 emails, which is nice, but I didn't own the emails. The
That's the
emails were
problem.
going through LinkedIn. So then eventually like, I was like, well, shit, like I'm still renting it at the end of the day. I'm still renting the audience. And that's kind of when I started an email landing page and just started collecting emails in the background, which
Yep.
is nice to have.
I think
Helps you
every
sleep at night.
creator, every business, it does help you sleep at night. Indeed, knowing like, okay, I'm owning the folks that are on my following.
Yeah.
Every creator should have a landing page to just capture emails. And yeah, make like, yeah, even if you're setting once a month, once a quarter, whatever. Hey, like, you want to go deeper with me and know like what I bought over the past month? Like, subscribe to my newsletter. And also, like, creators should be freaking promoting it every time, like on their story, and be like, by the way, I have a
Yeah.
newsletter. It's strategic. It pains me when people are so hesitant about it. I'm like, why you're not selling anything? You're just telling people to subscribe to your newsletter. They're going to
Exactly.
be thrilled that you have that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it is, if you position the newsletter as to be like helpful and not like overly promotional, then there's no reason why you should think of it. I mean, a lot of people that build great products think of it this way too, is like you have like the duty of promoting your product because it helps people out there in the world. And so, if you're creating a newsletter or a piece of content that you think is valuable, like you're helping people with that content or you're making their life better in some way. So it's your duty to kind of like promote it to the best of your ability.
Absolutely.
Just a couple more questions and we'll get you out of here. If you weren't doing all of this creator stuff and building a product and building a brand, and doing these events and traveling around the world, what would you be doing? Do you have like any other like, interest or hobby or passion that you think you would have gone down?
Whoa, we're getting existential here. Um, I don't know, honest. I'll tell you what. When I was when I was younger, and even like throughout college, like I would say, like my dream job, literally my dream job, is to be like a newscaster or like a Ryan Seacrest.
Mm.
Like I love that stuff.
You're kind of doing
Um,
that a little bit in some
I
elements,
am.
like I see you on camera and I see you doing like your interviews and stuff, and like that little flair comes out, that
Yep.
that aspect comes out
I think I would be doing that. I mean, I know I'm kind of doing that.
to
I
some degree.
love
Yeah.
to lean into that direction, like in my, hopefully there's an avenue for me after my current, stint with my businesses to gain foundation and everything, that I can go and lean into something like that. But like I love being an interviewer, and I love hosting, and like being that Ryan Seacrest, for like lack of a better comparison. But like
Yeah.
as I've been doing what I've been doing and have received like, real-time feedback on it, it's like, damn, when I think about like what was I put on earth to do, holy shit, I was put on earth to have a microphone in my hand, you know? And it's something that like people joke with me about. I mean, my family will joke with me about it, because yeah, I'll always like to grab the microphone when we were somewhere. But like I just love it. I love having it to do for good, whether it's educating people or it's entertaining people. And so maybe stand up is in my next life. We'll
That would be
see.
cool.
But really tough on a hobby front. Like, I like that stuff. I really like putting me and my abilities and my voice and everything to work. Um, but I like cooking and all that. But I would say if I was doing cooking, I would want a cooking show.
Yeah.
So really just being a personality. But off the computer and stuff, I do enjoy just routine exercise.
That's
I would like to do more, group sport activities. Like
that's
I
cool.
hate the fact that exercise nowadays is like individual. I wish I want to play more basketball. I want to play tennis, and I can, right? I can. Why not? But those are things that like I enjoy doing, want to do more of. But yeah, all in all, being a host, an interviewer of some sort, I really enjoy.
I can see it, dude. Don't forget about us little people when you're famous one day.
I mean,
When you're mega famous one day.
I'll be
You're
back.
already famous. You're micro famous right
A
now.
microwave is crazy. I just, it's so funny. I never would perceive myself like that. And I know people throw it out and they're joking because like, oh, you're at Cannes or whatever. And I'm like, I still feel very new and emerging in this space. And there's still so much to learn and so many people to admire, like, like yourself, with what you've built and the jobs you've had. Um, so
I think
I appreciate
that's the
hearing that.
beauty of like social platforms is like you can dominate a niche in a social platform as big as LinkedIn, where there's like millions and millions of users, and still get like micro fame in these niches because just by being consistent and standing
Yeah.
out and sharing good content.
Yep.
So I
Which
think
I
that's like
love.
for anybody out there, like like you said, like if what if somebody's already creating content in my niche? It's like, so what? Doesn't mean you can't create content. It doesn't mean like you can create like better content or different takes or different perspectives or your story woven in.
Yep.
Um,
There was a
so it's just like,
lane for everyone.
yeah, yeah. I
There's a
think I think so
bunch of
too.
people. There's a lot of people create content on like the creator economy space, but I think a lot of people also like want to hear it from me, because I have my unique story and background and unique way of delivering it. And
Yeah,
that's just what a lot of people need to understand when it comes to creating is, you can really carve out your own path, and it's so exciting because the barrier to do so is so low. You just got
yeah,
to get started.
yeah. Love that. What are you building all towards? Um, like like I said, you're doing so many different things at
Hmm.
once. Do you aspire to like quote unquote retire and go live on a farm one day? Do you want to just keep building to see how big you can grow your audience? Do you have like a number in mind of the money you want to make, or your empire that you're trying to build? Anything you're kind of working towards?
Great question. I think like my personal philosophy is just to be a part of something bigger than myself, and so I never want to be removed from that. And I like my grandfather is 82 and he's still working. Not because he has to, but because he loves what he does. He's been very successful, built his own law firm, and he's kind of just answered like what I would answer. He doesn't have any hobbies outside. He loves to work, and he loves the investigation of it all with what he does as a lawyer. And, I'm sure he also has a similar value that's keeping him, this is what I feel like I was put on earth to do, right? A man's search for meaning. This is my meaning. And so for me, like right now, I don't have a set exit. Like, I certainly, like, there's an element of, I want to build a massive reputable business and brand. And I want to make money because there's things that money gives you access to do even more and bigger things. That's what excites me and like keeps me optimistic about the future. But there's no set end goal for me really. I don't see myself ever wanting to stop working just because it provides so much personal value. And like, I get even more value when I know that I'm impacting others and really truly achieving that element of being part of something bigger than yourself. And so I would say my two goals and everything I do are income and impact. Um, I'm not trying to make a quick buck. I feel a lot better about making money through what I'm doing because I know it's having a really strong impact. And the money's coming in because it's proof of the value that's being created for those that are, within the ecosystem. So yeah, no plans to go and be off on a farm.
I like it. Yeah.
But I'll travel. I'll travel for sure. But maybe I'll be like an Anthony Bourdain and travel and
That's like,
do
dude, I
video
could definitely
and
see that.
commentary.
Yeah.
So we'll see. You just need to have the access and means to do that. But
Yeah.
right now I'm fully focused on Creator Economy NYC and CIFSI, and will be for the foreseeable future.
Love it. All right, last question. So, knowing what you know now that you're kind of working on your stuff full time, and you've been through multiple full time jobs and juggled both full time job and creating this on the side, like what advice would you give to yourself before, like when you first started thinking of creating online or doing Creator Economy NYC, like the very very beginning of that stage? Any like advice that you'd give to that Brett?
Stay the course. This routine theme and what I'll give advice about is just stay the course. And keep your head down, nose to the grindstone, eyes to the stars. Because just things do compound. There's a reason the law of compounding is discussed and just so widely proven. And it really is true in all facets of life. And the earlier you come to understand that, the more comfortable you get with like why you're putting in the reps. You understand, things are going to start compounding. And we're fitness guys. It's like, like, look, I put on a couple pounds over the past few months, but I know that if I want to truly get back to where I was, it's just going to come through the reps. And what's going to keep me showing up is knowing like, you just got to stay consistent. That's ultimately how you see results. And so I would give my younger self that advice even earlier. But I feel blessed to have kind of understood that as early as I have, and really think it's put me in the position that I am in today.
Dope, dude. Thank you. Anything you want to shout out or plug?
I'll plug my newsletter. Go to creatoreconomynyc.com. It is what it sounds, and click join community, and you can sign up. And then follow me on LinkedIn and Instagram. I would say are my two main platforms. It's just my name, Brett Dashevsky, and you'll find me. And finally, to all those listening, remember, fuck it, create it. Get out there, do the thing you're doing, whether it's creating content, whether it's starting that business that you've been wanting to do. Life is too short to let things linger, and get after it. And to leave you with comfort, there's never a perfect time to do it. So you might as well just start now.
Hell yeah. Thank you, dude. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It was an honor.